it's Hailey, and today I wanted to talk about what my reading year has been like so far, and also what my favorite books have been. So 2022 has definitely been an interesting reading year. I did start an internship at the beginning of the year, at the end of January, and that has definitely taken up a lot of what would usually be my reading time, but I also it's been really rewarding. I've very much been enjoying it, and I still have been able to read a lot of really awesome books. So I kind of want to do this seasonally, where I kind of go through, say what my favorite books are for the past few months and how things have been going. So this is obviously going to be the first one. Winter is over. We have now finally entered spring, thank God, because I have never seen so much snow in my life. But I am really excited to chat with you guys about what I've read. So far I have read 28 books this year. So I think that I'll give you guys a top 10. Maybe, we'll see. 10 might be a little bit much. I might do a little bit less than 10, but I've read 10 books. Some of those have been DNFs, and part of that is because I have kind of come to the realization I can't read everything. So I'm encouraging myself to DNF again. It's something I kind of lost a little bit in 2021, but now that I have this internship, I really am tight for reading time. So I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing books that I actually do really want to read, and that has been very great for me. I'm not exactly sure how many books I've DNF'd so far, but actually I'm going to give you a top 5 favorites and a top I'm not exactly sure the exact number of how many books I've DNF'd so far, but I've been reading a wide variety of genres. I feel like I should have marked all of this in Storygraph, but I always forget to keep up with it because there's no app or anything, but that's a me problem. I think what I'll do is I'll give you guys a top 7 books that I've really enjoyed, and then I will give you a bottom 3 books that I didn't enjoy, but I'm gonna exclude DNFs because obviously I didn't like those. So far for my Goodreads goal, by the way, I am on track. I'm 3 books ahead. I'm gonna fall behind, for sure. I don't think there will be a way that I'm gonna read 100 books this year. I'm really going to try, but I just think this year it's not the year for that, which is fine. So I'll just lower it to something that I can actually do because it makes me feel better. It's just a personal challenge. I know some of you guys say that's cheating, but I honestly don't care. So I changed my mind, and I'm actually going to give you a bottom 4 and a top 6 because I was having trouble narrowing down the top 6 because, well, into a top 7. I was having trouble narrowing it down to a top 7 because there were just so many more that I wanted to include, but I had the solid list for the ones that I didn't like, which is kind of better because it means I know what I didn't like, but it was easier to narrow it down, if that makes sense. But the ones that I liked, there's so many that I enjoyed different things about that it was really hard for me to narrow it down. So this is just kind of in the moment my top 6 books of the year so far. So we have Isn't It Romantic by Lisa K. Adams, which I'm really pleasantly surprised is on this list because I didn't really like the latest installment in this series, but this was kind of a return to what I loved in this series. So this is the Bromance Book Club series, and this one is focusing on the Russian. He is the hockey player, and you see his romance, he's in a fake dating sort of situation, but it's kind of more friends to lovers, which is just my favorite trope. So I feel like this was just meant for me, but it's also not really grumpy sunshine, but kind of he's definitely sunshine, and it's really great. So I did really enjoy this one, and that's why it's on this list. I felt like it was a very passionate and heartfelt romance. Everything about it just brought me back to what I love about the series. Next is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So this one I kind of picked up on a whim because I had heard a lot of people really enjoyed this one. It was very hyped up on TikTok, and my sister actually had read it and she enjoyed it. So I was okay, I'll give it a chance, but I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. I see why people wouldn't like this one because I know it does have kind of very differing opinions, but I think it's going to be a polarizing book because it is part in a way, it's part self-help. It's definitely a book that is giving you a message, and it's not shoving that message down your throat, but it can kind of seem like that in a way. However, I think I read this at a time in my life when I really needed it, and I think it's a book that I'm honestly going to reread again, and a book that I'll keep on turning to when I feel like I need it. So I think it's a very important read for me, and I can see why it would be an important and very close to their heart read for other people as well. But I can also also see the flip side of that, where you feel like you're being philosophized at. Is that a word? Philosophized? I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say, but kind of preachy. But I just didn't get that from it. I felt like it was using the story to send a message, and the message was very clear, but it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the story at all. It was still something that I did really like, obviously. Next up is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. This blew me away. Like, it was such an emotional but beautiful. I can't believe this is a debut, honestly. That's what blows me away about it the most. The writing was incredible, and it just sucked me in. Like, I didn't want to put this book down. I kept on reading it, and that is the mark of great writing for me, and a writer that I will keep on turning to, so I can't wait to see what they're going to come out with next. But this is a love story between a girl, and she's been dating this guy for a really long time, and then he ends up dying, and she has this like final connection with him through her phone, but it's only for a certain amount of time, so it's she has to say goodbye to him. So it's kind of one of those stories where you know how it's going to end, but it doesn't make the ending hurt any less. And I felt like the author did a great job of feeling like you were there for their whole relationship. Like, it felt kind of insta-lovey, but it felt real at the same time, if that makes any sense. So definitely a really, really great read, and if you need a good cry, it's a good one to go to. Next up is Ace of Spades by Farida Abika Ayamide. This book blew me away. It had my jaw on the ground, like, I could not believe it. It was a wild ride of a book. Like, if you're looking for something thrilling that's going to keep you guessing and keep you turning those pages, this is the book to go with. The audiobook for it was amazing. It really read like Gossip Girl. Like, I didn't watch Gossip Girl, but I know enough about it. Like, I've seen a couple of episodes here and there, and the way that the little like anonymous like rumor starting sort of thing, it just read like it was Gossip Girl, but it was so eerie and creepy at the same time. And how you have these two characters who have no connection other than the fact that they're Black, and they're trying to figure out why they are being attacked, like why this anonymous thing is coming for them and spreading all these rumors, and they're afraid. It's just such an eerie story, and I think it's described as Gossip Girl meets Get Out, which is really what it is. That is absolutely what it is. So it's unlike anything I've ever read before. Once again, another debut, and I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe it's a debut, but it was so incredible. Next up is Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I really was once again surprised by this book. I don't know why I'm so surprised whenever I read Trisha Levenseller, because I've read enough books of hers by now to know that I'm going to enjoy them, that they're going to be quick, easy, fast-paced reads that I always just fall in love with. But this one was different than her others at the same time. This was more like, she describes it as a Slytherin romance, and it absolutely is that. It does have moments where it's not like the most deep or kind of that like storyline. It falls to the wayside a little bit, but the romance makes it all worth it. There's so much tension in it, and that sexual tension is just, you could cut it with a knife, but it is amazing. It is so great, and I just loved how steamy it was and everything. I think that this book was very, very well done, and I really liked it. And these were in no particular order, by the way, but the last of my favorites of the year so far that I wanted to talk about is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. So these favorites are going to change throughout the year, like definitely, especially with how the year has been going so far. I've been having a lot of books that I've read that I've really enjoyed. So keep in mind, things are going to change. This like hardly includes anything that I read in December, but that's because I've just read so many good books recently. So Act Your Age, Eve Brown is the final book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, which I'm so sad about, but I'm really excited because she actually announced that she's writing a YA romance. So I'm so excited, or like not necessarily romance, but a contemporary. So I feel like there's probably gonna be a romance there, but either way, I'm really pumped for it. But her books are fantastic. The writing is incredible. It, like, reading them has made me want to pick up anything else that she writes. And this book is following the youngest of the Brown sisters. So I was really excited for it because I am the youngest of 3 girls as well. So I felt like it was going to be really relatable for me. And it definitely was. And I don't know if it's because like I just identified with a lot of the traits of Eve, or if it was because she's the youngest. I don't know if the two go hand in hand or whatever, but it was a really relatable read for me, and I loved the romance. It was kind of enemies to lovers, which I don't usually like, but it was kind of more hate to love, I guess, but I feel like those two have been kind of conflated recently. Well, that's not usually my favorite. I did really enjoy it in this case. I thought it was so funny. Like, she does a really good job of writing books that are fun and enjoyable, but also have those steamy moments and also those serious moments. She does a really good job of balancing things, and this book was no exception. It was so good. Okay, and now for my bottom 4 books of the year. So first we have The Project by Courtney Summers. I don't know if the video is going to be going up before or after this one, but I did end up unhauling this one actually because I just really didn't like it. It's about cults, and the main character is so frustrating, and like it kind of feels like as you're reading it, you're like, what's the point? Like, you kind of get what the author is doing, but at the same time it's like, no, like this isn't what I wanted from this book. So it was definitely a really infuriating read that was kind of disappointing after having read The Project, or not The Project, that's what this one is. After having read Sadie, which was so good, reading this one was definitely kind of a letdown, unfortunately. Next is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This was just really disappointing because I was excited to read a new series by Stephanie Garber. She's the author of Caraval, and this one, I just felt like I was missing something. I don't know what it was, but I just felt like I was kind of like, okay, I feel like I've read this story before, but done better, and that made me really sad because like I really enjoyed her writing in the first few books, and the writing wasn't really the issue. I didn't feel connected with the characters, and I felt like everything seemed kind of superfluous, so it just wasn't for me, I don't think. I think I wanted a little bit more from it, and I didn't get that, so I was ultimately kind of left just wanting more. Next is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahara Mafi. Honestly, the ending ruined this one for me. It is a very, very, very emotional story, and it's one that you need to be aware of triggers going into it because there are definitely some moments that can be very, very triggering. And I felt for the characters, but after reading about these characters and you're just kind of like in their life, there's not really much of a plot happening. You're just kind of seeing the day-to-day. It just kind of leaves off. Like the ending, literally, this is the only time I think that I've read a book and I kept on flipping back to see if my book was missing pages or something because I felt like I was being robbed of the ending that I deserved after like going alongside these characters and being drained of emotion because of how emotional the story was. So it just really kind of felt like a punch to the gut to not get that like satisfaction in the end. And yeah, that definitely let me down. And the last book that's my least favorite of the year is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armez. I wasn't really a fan of this one. I think it was okay. Like, I don't think it was a bad book. I think it was overwritten. It doesn't need to be as long as it is. I understand people really love Erin, but I just felt like this was a book that I've read before, and I've read ones that, once again, I liked it more than I liked this one. So it wasn't like inherently a bad book. I just think I was expecting so much more because it is so hyped up. So I was like, why does everyone love this book so much? And I felt like that question was never answered. So I just kind of was like, okay, well that happened. That's kind of what I felt like in the end. So yeah, I honestly don't have that much to say about this book because I don't think it is bad, but like it does not need to be this long. Like how long is it? 460 pages? No way. This book could have been 300 pages and even that may have been too much. Like, it doesn't need to be that long. Okay, so I think that's all that I really wanted to share about my reading year so far. So I feel like 28 books for 4 months into the year. Well, I mean 3 months into the year, and now we're on the 4th month. That's pretty good, like that's solid. I guess for me though, we are technically 4 months into the year because my reading year starts in December because of Bookmas, but I'm happy with how I've been doing anyways. And the book that I've kind of been in a reading slump recently just because like when my mental health is bad, I want to read, but then I can't. So that's a really fun like conundrum that I'm in. But I've been reading I Must Betray You by Rita Petties, and that has just been bringing me back into reading. Her books take me out of a slump so easily, and this one has been like no exception. I just wish I had more time dedicated to reading it because I just don't have the time. But that's going to be all for today's video. Please let me know what your top like 2 books are that you've read this year, or your top 1, whatever. Just let me know how your reading year has been going, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys in another new one soon. Bye!